Hello, today I am going to be using a product called Deco Foil, let's see if we can read that, Deco Foil Transfer Gel Duo. And what that means is that when I put this gel on like a paste over my stencil, I allow it to dry, and then I can use transfer foil to foil the pasted cardstock by either sending it through a laminator or sending it through a die cutting machine. So it will use the heat and pressure through a laminator or the pressure through a die cutting machine to stick that foil onto the areas that have the gel. So this is a brand new jar. I don't think, I've never used this before, so we're gonna open this up, hopefully not fling it everywhere. Come on now. There we go. Get my little scraper tool here and throw this in the garbage. I'll stir it up a little bit because I don't know if it's settled. I've had this for years but have never opened it, so this is my first time using this product. So we're going to, now I think the purpose of this gel is to create like a gluey, sticky area. So we don't want it to be too thick. I'm going to try to scrape it with this tool. And it says it takes approximately 1 hour to dry. So right now I'm prepping for a class that I'm doing on Tuesday. So this is how I'm prepping these panels, is just get this gel, and it's very glue-like consistency. Let's get my other scraper tool here so we can get that onto, or off of my putty knife and onto the stencil, or between the stencil, I suppose you would say. And I have a glass mat underneath, but I decided to just stick this to paper so that I didn't make a sticky mess on my glass mat. I have a little area that doesn't have any gel. There we go. I think we got the whole thing covered. And I also have a bucket of hot soapy water next to me so I can toss my stencils in and do a few of them in a row. Looks like my, I'm going to stick my tools in there for a second while I clean this off so I can put the lid on so that doesn't dry out. And I'm going to just remove these Post-it note tapes I have here, holding my stencil down, and underneath the paper I have some repositionable adhesive so that I can remove it from the copy paper that it's sticking to, that's preventing my glass mat from getting all gooey. So now when I pull this up, I have to be very careful pulling this up so that it doesn't, I think we're going to get our pokey tool. Where's a pokey tool? I guess we'll use a scissor. Trying not to get in the area where the gel is. So let's drop that into my soapy water. Get in there. Oops, I scraped a little bit of it. Okay, I'm going to set this aside so it can dry, and I'll be right back. So this is the repositionable adhesive that I'm using. It's a tape runner by Tombow, and it's called, removable adhesive. So I'm just going to put some of that on the back of my little panel here and try to get this stuck on here straight so that when I put my stencil, I can make sure it's not cockeyed. Let's see here. Now let's try to line this up so we can get as much of that image on here as possible. That looks straight to me. Now reuse my Post-it notes here. Where's my other Post-it note? Okay, let's just go from here. Get some more of this gel with my palette knife. I don't think we need quite as much as we used last time. Maybe. There's a lot of moisture in this gel. It's more like a gel than a paste. And the reason I'm pointing that out is that I can see that it's having an effect on the cardstock. The one thing that you want to keep in mind, though, when you're using cardstock to do foiling through a laminator is you don't want the cardstock to be too thick, because the heat from the laminator, I don't know if the heat comes from the bottom or the top. So what I usually do is I'll send it through one direction, flip it over, and send it through the opposite direction. And my point was, I wouldn't use any kind of like watercolor cardstock or heavyweight cardstock to do these techniques, even though this gel does seem to have a little bit of an effect on this thinner cardstock that I'm using. I think what I'm using right now is 80-pound cardstock. One thing you want to keep in mind also is that you use a smooth cardstock. Looks like we're getting little ripples here at the end. Let's try to do it this way too. Must be the design that's causing these ripples. Okay, just going to scrape that off, put that back in my jar, put this in my bucket of water. That too, and get the stuff off the edge so I can put the lid on. And again, I'll be right back. The next step I'm going to do to prepare for my class on Tuesday is I am going to stamp this fairy image, and it helps if the image is solid like this, because what we're going to do is add this. It's called Foil Reactive Embossing Powder. It's by Brutus Monroe, and it's basically a glue powder. You stamp with your embossing ink, which I have right here somewhere close by, I think. There we go. We are going to use Versamark ink and stamp our images. We're going to use the fairy image and the sentiment Make-A-Wish. So let's put that on our stamping platform. And this is a set called Magic is in Your Heart by Crafter's Companion. I'm not sure if they still make this set. I'll have to look into that. But what we're going to do is we're going to offset that just a little bit because I want the sentiment to come down here. And the sentiment is Make-A-Wish. And the key to doing this is to make sure there's not a whole lot of detail in order for this, what is it called, foil reactive embossing powder to work very well. So let's get this is the, what is this called? It's by Inkadinkadoo, and it's called an embossing powder tool, something like that. And just put some powder all over here so we're not staticky, and then get our Versamark ink and ink up our stamps. And it helps to use a stamping platform so that you can stamp it more than once, because we want to make sure it's nice and juicy. But we don't want to blow out the detail. So let's get this and squish our image down here. So I'm giving it about a medium pressure, not too hard, not too gentle. There we go. There's our first stamp. And we'll stamp it one more time. Oops, get in the corner there. And we'll stamp it once more. I'm going to set this aside with a stamp on the paper right now. I'm going to grab a couple of pieces of paper, whoops, so that I can sprinkle my powder onto the panel. Get a little more powder. Make sure the entire image is covered. Give it a little flick. Make sure it's still covered. Make sure we don't have any strays. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, I'm going to use my heat gun. My Wagner heat tool. Helps when it's plugged in. So let me just plug this in. And it's falling all over the place. Go back up here. There's the plug. Okay. It looks a little pitted. I think I'm going to stamp it one more time, let it cool down just a little bit. I'll be right back. I'm going to clean this up so I can move my stamp platform back into view. Since I left my stamp in the stamping platform, I'll be able to put this right back into the corner. And I've learned my lesson from doing this one other time. I'm not going to restamp the sentiment, or should I? I think I'll do Wish, but I won't do Make-A, because last time I did that, it got all blown out, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to switch this into view here. We'll do Wish, and then our fairy. There we go. Just make sure that's in the corner. Where's my presser thing? There we go. Medium pressure. What happens when it's pitted, the way that it turns out, and that happens with newer stamps, if, you know, when you stamp with a color ink, you can usually tell that it's a new stamp if it hasn't been seasoned and the color doesn't appear solid when you stamp it. That's the same thing with the embossing ink. Because it's a newer stamp, or new to me stamp, it didn't do a clear stamped image. So if we get all those little pits that are missing the ink, then we can get a... I'll try to get some of this back in the jar. A little herb right there. Let's see. Let's give it a little tap on the opposite side. And use the heat tool one more time. I wonder if I overheated that area, because I can see that it's not as solid on her body. Her legs and most of her wings and her head and the flower are. Okay, I'm going to let this cool off. Set this aside one more time. Give it one more stamp. I'm not sure if you can tell see how it's pitted looking? See how on her skirt there and her body, it's not as smooth as the wing. Her leg is really smooth. And I just think that if I don't get enough embossing powder on there, I don't think it's going to take the foil. I think we should try it one more time. I'll be right back. Okay, last time. So I'm going to try to avoid the flower. Just get the skirt and her body there. Don't need to do the sentiment again. Okay. I'm wondering if I just didn't press hard enough the last time. I'm not sure what the issue is. Okay. Set this aside one more time. Come on now. Close, close, close. There you go. Bring back our papers. Sprinkle some more powder. I wonder if I tapped off too much of the powder also. That could be. Okay, looks like I'm... Maybe. Try it again. It's just not taking in that area. That's very strange. It worked the first time I tried. I'm not sure what the problem is. I wonder if it'll work. I didn't look as closely at the first one that I did, so we'll give it a try. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, there's always another try. We'll do another one. I'll stamp on another panel. Put away my embossing powder. Okay, bring this out again and wipe this down. A little sticky ink on the back. Bring out another panel, white panel, and stamp this with the VersaFine ink again. Ooh, I have to remember the embossing, or the... I always forget what this is called. The little prep tool thing. The anti-static powder tool, that's what it's called. Okay, make sure it's in the corner. And let's give it some more pressure this time. Maybe I didn't give it enough pressure last time. Go. Make sure it's in the corner. More ink. There we go. Scooch this over out of the way. I also wonder if I lifted the lid too fast and maybe some of the ink didn't stick to the paper because I lifted the stamp too fast. I don't know. Let's give this another try. Let's sprinkle some powder from the top and then Just give it a shimmy on down. Shimmy, 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 shimmy. There you go. Okay, I'm not going to flick it this time. See if that'll... I should actually make sure I don't have any powder. I can feel powder on the side. Oh, maybe I have to. So I'm not going to flick it. I'm just going to tap it. Yeah, I feel strays. Feel a lot of stray powder. Whoops. That could be the embossing powder, or the anti-static powder. There. That's all I'm going to do. Hopefully I got all of the... I probably lifted the stamp up too fast. There's a little bit of pitting, but nothing compared to what the other panel looks like. Let me see if I can show you. See, it's much smoother than the other one was. But I'm still going to stamp it one more time. Pull this panel down, just fan it. Got a little wrinkle in my paper from holding it. Pull it down some. See how that feels. Yeah, it feels cool to the touch, so it should be good. Get it in the corners, or in the corner. Get my Versamark ink. And again, I think we'll do Wish and the fairy, not the Maka. Probably shouldn't have done the flower either, but we're just going to give it a try. It's the worst that could happen. Have to do it again, that's what could happen. There we go. Take it up nice and slow. Nice and slow. Just let that paper release really slow. There we go. Okay. There's what I was saying is there's barely any pitting. Let's see if you can see how smooth that looks. Looks really good. That should take the foil nicely. Okay, I think that'll be it. Everything else will be part of the class. I hope to see you there. Bye for now.